Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today I'm going to tell you my 5 tips for September 2020. This is a special issue. I don't know if we can say that, because they're all related to light and exposure. Okay, let's start. I'm going to give you a link to a video I have about exposing in manual mode. It's a long video, about 48 minutes. It's really complete. But today I'm going to tell you a few tips, not the whole thing, okay? So I'll give you the link here, okay? I realize that many people have a problem with exposure because they don't know how to count, basically because they don't know the FStop scale. It's really important that you know this scale, because if you don't know it, you don't realize that when you change a bit, it changes a lot, or not that much, just changing a number, because people don't seem to know that between two full stops you have half light or twice the light, okay? So for example, at f4, if you go to 5.6, you've divided light by 2. If you go from 5.6 down to f4, you've multiplied light by 2. So it's important you know the scale. So depend on the gear you have, but most expensive lenses maybe sometimes start at 1.0, then 1.4, then 2.0, 2.8, 4.0, 5.6, f8, normally you say the f in front of it, f11, f16, f22, f32. These are full stops. You go with half light or twice as much light, okay? And when you in your camera you see the small numbers in between, like for f4, 4.5, 5, and then 5.6. Well, this number in between are third of a stop, okay? So sometimes people expect to have a lot of changing just one number, and this is not enough. You just change 1/3. Or sometimes they go from f4 to f8 and say, oh, there's no light anymore, it was just a couple of numbers. Yeah, but from f4 to 5.6 you divide it by 2, and from 5.6 to f8 you divide it again by 2, so you have got a lot less light, okay? So it's really important you know the scale and you know how to calculate quickly between them. Second tip, you're going to learn how to listen and feel your camera. First, you need to configure your camera in third. I mean, normally by default they come in third. I mean, you go from f4, 4.5, 5.0, 5.6, but sometimes they come in half or sometimes in full stops, so you want it in third, okay? Same thing with speed, not jump from 1/25th of a second to 1/250th of a second, but you have the intermediate stops, about thirds, so you have everything in third. And then you can listen to your camera. In my camera I've got the aperture in the back on this wheel and the speed on the front wheel, okay? Sometimes you just have one wheel, so you have to press another button to access the other one. But you can actually, this way, count easily, feeling like I'm overexposed one stop, okay? I want to change with the aperture, I just do this. I'm going to put it here. I've moved one stop, I've closed the aperture one stop. I could do with speed also. And I can actually mix both. So let's say I don't want to drop my speed too much, but I'm underexposed, so I want to put my speed down at the most 1/3, because maybe I'm at the limit of being moved. So if I want one stop, I would move the wheel of the aperture 2/3, and then 1/3 on speed. This way I've changed a full stop, just feeling. So when you're used to it, in case there is a lot of sun on your screen and you have a camera on a tripod and you can actually see properly, just feeling the buttons, the wheels, or listening to the click if there is not too much noise around, then you know it. Or even if in 1 second you don't see properly in the viewfinder, whatever, you just feel it. So it's really easy. The third tip is a tip I've said already in other videos and other tips maybe of the month, but I thought it was really important to include it this month with this, because many people think about exposure but they forget about orientation. So for this it's really easy. You're going to use your hand and you're going to see how the orientation is affecting the aspect of what is lit, okay? So this is really easy. Many people think that light is a matter of exposure, but they forget it's a matter also of orientation. As you can see, when I turn around, the aspect of my hand is changing depending on the orientation. So if you're going to make a portrait, instead of having the person turning around, use your hand first, so you know exactly what is the most favorable orientation, the one you like best, okay? So use your hand to do that. It's really easy, and straight away you see the results. So as you can see, we all have one hand or two, or fully two, and it really helps orientating light. Tip number 4, this is a tip already said in other videos, but I think it belongs also to this one. You need to learn how to see as your sensor, your camera sensor is seeing. For this, it's really easy. You just, if you open your eye, you see like normal view or normal eyes. But then if you put your eyes like this, like an Asian, I don't want to offend anyone, but like an Asian, then you see as your sensor is seeing. Okay, so I'll give you a small example, you have a look at it. It's important to be able to see like your sensor. Right now, when you look at this, if you close your eye like an Asian guy, doesn't sound racist, I just say, just to give an image of what I want to mean, you just close your eyes and look through the small space you leave. You can see, you will see exactly the same open-eyed or this way, okay? But when I turn around here, as you can see, here in these areas, dark in the shade and the shadows, it becomes really dark, and this is the way your sensor is seeing. So actually, when you preview this and you see these dark areas, you know that you will need or flash for that area. So for landscape, you don't normally use flashes. If it was a person, probably. Or you will have to do an HDR. It means you make several pictures and then you get them together in post-production, keeping the best exposure for each. People think when they hear HDR, they think about the crazy colors. No, this is tone mapping. The thing is, many people call HDR what is actually tone mapping. Well, many people, 99%. But HDR, you don't actually see it's on HDR unless you really know about photography, okay? So try previewing the scene, closing your eyes this way, and you know exactly how your sensor is seeing the picture. So many people say, yeah, but I feel ashamed if I do that on the street, I look ridiculous. Well, most of us, we just look crazy with a camera in our hands. So if you look a bit more crazy, it doesn't really matter, as long as you get a better exposure. So I think it's worth looking crazy, okay? So this is a really useful and simple tip. Last tip, 5th one, many people contact me saying, yeah, I'm here at the mountain skiing, I'm making picture, and all my pictures are getting underexposed, but I don't understand why, because I've got the small indication in the center, or I'm in automatic and it says everything is fine, but it comes out underexposed. Same thing on white sand beaches, I've got the same problem, or white wall or whatever. Okay, so why? Because your camera is making a mistake. Normally cameras, when they measure lights, they calculate as if it was a mid-tone 18% gray card, as it's called, and if it's white, it thinks it's gray, but it's not gray, it's white. So the camera thinks, oh, there's too much light here, so it will put up the speed or close the aperture to stop light, because the camera thinks there is too much light. But actually it was not this way, okay? So if you're in manual, you must compensate this. If you're in manual, what you will do, you will open more or the aperture, or lower down the speed, and lower the speed, and by off up to 2 stops, okay? You will do this, so you get more lights, although the small bar in your viewfinder indicates it was the center. Now it will indicate as overexposed, but it's not overexposed, it's properly exposed. If you're working in automatic or semi-automatic, you normally have a button to compensate from 1 up to 2 stops, some camera up to 3 stops. Well, you will have to compensate getting between +1 and +2 stops of light, okay? So your camera who is not seeing properly will now take the picture properly exposed. Well, these were my 5 tips for September 2020, a special issue, if I can say, I don't know if you can say that, about light and exposure, okay? If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here and also a small bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. And also in the description, I put links of my gear on Amazon, also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Please take care of yourself, stay safe, and see you soon. Bye.